Welcome back, everybody. At the top of this show tonight, we had Congressman Ben Cline on to discuss Speaker McCarthy's meeting with President Biden. And in some exclusive information delivered to my co-host John at Just the News, the House Speaker has said that the news is there's no news, as in no movement from the Biden administration on the debt ceiling deal, and the struggle ensues. All right. And on another note, one thing that we know that indoctrination does not stop within the higher education system. Rather, it lives on in the forms of diversity, equity, inclusion, and other woke mantras that push American students to the ideology of accepting global citizenship. Nicholas Giordano is not just a podcast host and campus reform higher education fellow, but he's actually one of the very few good professors out there. And he wrote an op-ed on this very phenomenon I just touched on. Joining us here to help educate us further is our good friend, Nicholas Giordano. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Sir, I wanted to ask you about your op-ed, Higher Education is Undermining America by Pushing Global Citizenship. I looked up a study and I found that last year, about 1 in 3 Americans actually got on a plane and traveled somewhere. So actually participated in global travel. What's the point for students to buy into the whole global citizenship thing if nobody's going anywhere?
It's interesting because the colleges and the university systems have adopted this global citizenship in all their mission and vision statements. And what they say is that they're preparing the students for interconnectedness with the international community, that we are a global community. However, they fail to teach the students about the country that they're actually living in, the country that they're actually citizens of, which is the United States. I mean, we see on the student performance. We just had Friday, the Department of Education report out that civics proficiency levels are at their lowest ever. History proficiency levels are at their lowest level ever. So what's the point of trying to push this global citizenship when they don't even understand their role and responsibility as American citizens? More importantly, though, this is an attack on the American identity. It's the attack on America herself, because when we examine it, you see that these people say, well, citizenship is just an accident by birth. It's not really intentional for the nation state complex. It's an accident. And therefore, we have to promote a global agenda. And that's the frightening aspect of this, because if we don't know the country that we're living in, if we don't know what our roles and responsibilities are, how could our country actually survive? And what's the gel that actually links us together at that point?
Yeah, such an important question. And it really seems to be one side of the country's goal to supplant Americanism with globalism. And the higher education seems to be that place where the deal is tried to consummate. Meanwhile, all this focus on college has left us with a significant shortage of skilled trade workers. Earlier in the show, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson of North Carolina is talking about what he's doing in North Carolina to make it cool and hip and acceptable and, oh, by the way, lucrative to pursue a career in the trades. I know you feel really strongly about this. Talk a little bit about the potential opportunity we have to give children 2 paths, not just a college degree, but a trades degree would be pretty darn good as well.
It would. And Campus Reform has actually reported on this, where you could have a 2-track system, right? So the community colleges are actually the best place to learn some of the academics that you actually need in life, some liberal arts, because liberal arts is important in producing productive citizenry, those that understand roles and responsibilities. And then they get the vocational training, where they actually learn skills that they can use on day one and make a lot of money doing it. The cost of college is ridiculously out of control. Tuition increases have been happening every year since the United States took over the student loan departments, essentially. And what we see is that the cost versus benefit analysis is now coming into question. A lot of parents out there are saying, should I invest $20, $30, $40, $50, $100,000 a year for my child to be indoctrinated, and at the same time not actually have any skills to actually build out the career that they need to sustain themselves? And people are rethinking what college should be about. So I think that this is a huge opportunity, unique opportunity, to start giving students not only academic education, but also vocational education. That never leaves you, right? So if you learn electrical work, because I heard you talking about electrical work, well, that skill never goes old. You're always going to need it. And guess what? Right. You're never going to be replaced by AI.
Great point.
Yeah. That's an excellent point. And with respect to the student loans, I know you have a personal story that I would love for you to tell, but it seems like we are in this current climate We're looking at the mortgage situation where people who have worked really hard to have good credit are now subsidizing people who have poor credit. And you made a very wise decision, or what you thought at the time was a wise decision, to privatize your student loans. You did the right financial thing, and it seems that was for no good.
Yeah, apparently when you do the responsible thing in Biden's America, you actually get penalized for it. So several years ago, I did apply for the public service forgiveness loan, where if you work for 10 years in public service, you could have student loans forgiven. They said because I was in the wrong repayment plan, I don't qualify. So I did the responsible thing. I converted that to a private loan and got a lower interest rate to save me money. Lo and behold, the rules now changed, and I would have actually qualified for it and could have gotten $20,000 in student loan payments taken care of. Now, thankfully, I paid off my student loans a few months ago, actually, so we're talking, at least that's the good news. The bad news is, though, if I would have just stayed in the loans that I had with the education department, it would have been forgiven. So if you do the right thing in America, if you save money and pay for your child's tuition, if you refinance into private loans, if you don't go to these exorbitant price schools and you go to a community college, you're essentially going to get penalized because you did the right thing in today's America. It's upside down world, right? So we see this in every aspect with the mortgages that you just brought up. If you have good credit, well, now you're going to have to pay extra points in order to take care of those with bad credit. We see it in crime where the victimizer is now being labeled as the victim. It really is stunning where we are in the United States, and it speaks to the cultural decline that we're witnessing all over the place.
In ground zero of the cultural decline, it seems to be in the education system. They set these children up to be civically illiterate, but indoctrinated in globalism. We got about 30 seconds left. Nick, what are some of the ideas you like most about maybe giving the shock to the education system to start reforming these things?
Well, I think you have to bring back civics, not indoctrination, actual civics, teaching students the roles and responsibilities of the institutions. What is liberty? What is freedom? Why did the founding fathers want limited government? And why did the founding fathers call for a public education system that preaches about a new American history so that students are equipped with the knowledge and skills they need and actually link us together as a society, being that we're all different?
Such a great
And dire consequences for the education system if we don't get it fixed. But I know that you are leading the charge in making that happen. Thank you again, Nicholas, for being here tonight to dive into all of these issues with us. Everybody, go check out his podcast, the P.A.S. Report, out now. In fact, I think John's going to be on it later this week, so definitely check it out. All right, everybody, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We've got one more segment. Join us then. We'll be back.